The keys to personal achievement, 4 a.m. The hour that transforms ordinary into extraordinary. When the clock strikes 4 a.m., the world is still, the streets are empty, and silence covers everything around you. Most people are asleep, lost in dreams, unaware of the opportunity that exists in this sacred hour. But for those who choose to rise, 4 a.m. becomes more than just a time on the clock. It becomes a symbol of transformation. It is in this hour that the ordinary are separated from the extraordinary, where discipline takes root and where the future is built. This is not about simply waking up early. It's about stepping into a state of clarity, focus, and strength that few ever experience. 4 a.m. symbolizes discipline, the foundation of success. 4 a.m. symbolizes discipline, the foundation of success. It is not merely about setting an alarm or forcing yourself out of bed before the sun rises. It is about cultivating the type of mindset that refuses to settle for average. Discipline is not glamorous, and it is not always easy. It demands consistency, self-control, and the courage to say no to comfort in exchange for growth. Waking up at 4 a.m. is a reflection of this principle. It is proof that you are willing to do what most people avoid. While the majority of the world clings to their pillows and excuses, you are up, building the version of yourself that you know you are capable of becoming. The act itself might seem small, just a matter of hours, but the symbolism behind it is enormous. Every morning when you rise at 4 a.m., you are sending a message to yourself. I am in control. And that sense of control is the bedrock of success. Life is unpredictable, filled with challenges and uncertainties. But the person who practices discipline each morning has already won half the battle. When you have the power to overcome the temptation of sleep, you have the power to overcome much greater obstacles during the day. Discipline is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. At first, waking up early might feel unnatural, uncomfortable, even painful. But every time you choose to honor that commitment, you are strengthening your ability to act despite your feelings. You are training yourself to follow through on your intentions, regardless of whether you feel like it or not. And that, more than talent or luck, is what determines success. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Intelligence without discipline is unfocused energy. But discipline, even in the absence of talent or resources, will always move you forward. When you rise at 4 a.m., you are not just getting a head start on the day. You are programming your mind to value discipline above everything else. You begin your day with an act of strength, and that strength carries into everything you do, whether it's pursuing your goals, managing your time, or facing inevitable setbacks. You do so with the quiet confidence of someone who has already proven to themselves that they can choose growth over comfort. The world may admire success when it is visible, but success does not begin in the spotlight. It begins in silence, in the lonely hours when no one is watching. It begins with small victories, like choosing discipline at 4. These victories might seem insignificant in the moment, but they compound over time, transforming your habits, your character, and ultimately your life. Each morning you wake early, you are not only setting the tone for the day, you are sculpting yourself into someone capable of extraordinary things. Success is not built on random bursts of motivation, but on steady, disciplined effort. Motivation fades, but discipline sustains. The discipline of waking at 4 a.m. becomes a metaphor for the rest of your life. The willingness to step into discomfort, the ability to act with intention, and the courage to rise when others remain asleep. It is not just about hours gained, it is about the mindset forged. And when discipline becomes your foundation, success ceases to be a distant dream. It becomes an inevitable reality. The quiet hours provide unmatched focus and clarity. The quiet hours provide unmatched focus and clarity. When the world is asleep and distractions are nowhere to be found, you suddenly discover a space that feels rare and precious. It is in these silent hours that the mind is at its sharpest, uncluttered by the noise of the day, untouched by demands, and free from the chaos that usually surrounds you. The stillness of the early morning has a way of creating an atmosphere where your thoughts can align. Your vision becomes clearer, and your intentions take form without interruption. During the day, life pulls at you from every direction. Messages, notifications, conversations, and responsibilities compete for your attention. The human mind is naturally reactive, and once the day begins, it is easy to get lost in the whirlwind of obligations. But in the early hours before the rest of the world wakes, you have a chance to step into a different rhythm. There is no competition for your focus, no noise to drown your thoughts, only the deep quiet that sharpens your awareness. It is like standing in a calm sea after a storm, finally able to see the horizon clearly. Clarity is not something that comes when you are rushed or distracted. It arrives when you give yourself the gift of space. Waking up in the quiet hours allows you to step away from the external pressures and reconnect with your inner compass. It becomes the time where you can ask yourself the most important questions. What am I building? Where am I heading? Who do I want to become? These are questions often buried under the clutter of the day. Yet they are the very questions that define your path. When you give yourself the silence to reflect on them, you begin to move through life with a sense of direction instead of drifting aimlessly. The quiet hours also provide the perfect environment for deep work. Whether you are studying, writing, creating, or training, these moments of solitude allow you to focus entirely on the task without interruptions. The brain operates differently in these hours. It is more concentrated, more capable of holding attention for longer stretches. This is why some of the world's greatest thinkers, writers, and innovators have chosen to work in the early morning. They understood that creativity and productivity flow most freely when the world is still. Beyond productivity, the early quiet builds inner peace. When you start your day in silence, you are less likely to be shaken by the noise of the world later on. You create a mental shield, a sense of calm that anchors you even when challenges arise. By spending the first part of your day in clarity, you condition your mind to respond with focus instead of reactivity. You start with control rather than chaos, and that energy shapes everything that follows. The truth is, clarity is a rare treasure in a world drowning in distractions. Most people live their lives reacting to messages, reacting to circumstances, reacting to problems. Few take the time to pause, to think, and to truly see the bigger picture. The quiet hours give you that rare opportunity. They remind you that the most valuable resource you have is not time, it is focus. And focus is only possible when clarity is present. So when you rise before the world, do not see it as just waking up early. See it as entering a sanctuary of silence that allows you to strengthen your mind, refine your vision, and commit yourself to your goals with absolute clarity. The quiet hours are not a sacrifice. They are a gift. They are the golden hours where dreams are planned, ideas are born, and discipline is solidified. When you learn to treasure this stillness, you realize it is not just a time of day, it is the space where your future is shaped. Waking early creates separation between ordinary and extraordinary. Waking early creates separation between ordinary and extraordinary. It may seem like a simple shift in time, but it represents far more than that. It represents a choice. Most people choose comfort, ease, and the path of least resistance. They allow the warmth of the bed to hold them hostage, convincing themselves that another hour of sleep will make a difference, when in reality it only robs them of the chance to rise above mediocrity. Those who choose to wake early, however, are choosing to separate themselves from the masses. They are declaring, through action, that they are not content with being ordinary. The ordinary life is built on routines that require little effort and little discipline. It is easy to follow the crowd, to wake up when everyone else does, to begin the day only when obligations demand it. But the extraordinary life demands more. It demands initiative, sacrifice, and the courage to break away from the patterns of the majority. Rising before the sun is not about the clock. It is about the mindset that says, I will not live like everyone else because I refuse to have the results of everyone else. There is a certain power in knowing that while the rest of the world sleeps, you are awake and working on yourself. It creates a psychological edge. You feel as though you are ahead, as if you have stolen time from the day that others are not even aware exists. This head start becomes a foundation of confidence. While others stumble out of bed, reacting to alarms and rushing into chaos, you have already invested in yourself. You have already moved your body, sharpened your mind, or planned your day with clarity. That separation is not visible in a single morning, but over time it compounds into extraordinary results. What makes someone extraordinary is not a single act of greatness, but a series of consistent choices that others are unwilling to make. Waking early is one of those choices. It trains you to live above excuses, to master your mornings, and to take ownership of your life. It is not glamorous. Nobody applauds you at 4 a.m. Nobody claps when you silence the alarm and put your feet on the floor. But that's the point. The extraordinary are not built in public. They are built in private, through silent victories that most people will never witness. Separation is uncomfortable, and that is why most avoid it. To be extraordinary is to stand apart, and that can feel lonely at times. But it is in that loneliness that greatness is forged. When you wake early, you are declaring that you do not need the validation of others to commit to your path. You are choosing growth over comfort, vision over laziness, and purpose over distraction. That decision alone sets you apart, because so few have the will to make it. Think about it. The people who have shaped history, inspired change, and achieved greatness did not do so by following the routines of the ordinary. They created separation. They sacrificed comfort to pursue clarity. They understood that the extraordinary cannot be reached by living in the patterns of the majority. And it all begins with the simple, daily choice of rising early, of owning the hours that most waste. Waking early may seem small, but it is a declaration to yourself and the world that you are not satisfied with being average. It is a reminder that extraordinary lives are built not on grand gestures, but on small, consistent decisions that stack up over time. It is proof that you are willing to pay the price today for the rewards that will come tomorrow. In that quiet, early hour, you separate yourself, not just from the ordinary habits of others, but from the ordinary version of yourself. And with each sunrise, you rise too, closer to the extraordinary life you are meant to live. Small daily victories at 4 a.m. compound into life-changing results. Small daily victories at 4 a.m. compound into life-changing results. At first glance, it may not seem like much. Waking up early, making your bed, stretching your body, meditating, reading, or putting in focused work before the world stirs. It can appear insignificant, almost too small to matter, but it is these seemingly minor victories repeated consistently that hold the power to transform your entire life. Success is never the result of one grand decision or one monumental effort. It is born from the discipline of small, steady actions, compounded over time until they shape you into someone unrecognizable from who you once were. When you rise at 4 a.m. and honor your commitment to yourself, you begin the day with a win. That win might be quiet, unnoticed by the world, but it is powerful. It tells your mind and body that you are in control, that your will is stronger than your comfort. And starting your day with victory creates momentum, a force that carries into everything else you do. Just as a single drop of water seems harmless, but over time can carve valleys into stone, those daily wins shape your character, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. Most people underestimate the power of consistency because they are looking for instant results. They want change in weeks, not years. They want success to come quickly and easily. But extraordinary lives are built through patience and persistence. Imagine what happens when you stack those 4 a.m. wins over months and years. The books you read during those hours compound into knowledge that sharpens your perspective. The workouts you complete strengthen not only your body, but your discipline. The planning and reflection you do each morning create clarity that guides your decisions, saving you from mistakes others stumble into. Every small victory becomes a brick, and over time, those bricks build a foundation that cannot be shaken. There is also something deeper at play. These victories are not just about achieving external goals. They are about becoming someone new on the inside. Each time you rise early and follow through, you are rewriting your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone disciplined, committed, and worthy of success. That shift in self-image is one of the most powerful changes a person can experience. Because when you truly believe you are someone who follows through, someone who wins the small battles, you naturally begin to tackle bigger challenges with confidence. The beauty of this process is that it does not require perfection. Missing one day will not break you, just as one day of effort will not make you. What matters is the pattern, the long-term rhythm of victories stacking up day after day. Over time, these victories grow in power, not because the actions themselves change, but because your consistency magnifies their impact. Reading 10 pages a day might not feel like much, but over a year, that's several books. Meditating for 10 minutes might feel too short. But over time, it rewires the way you handle stress. Training for half an hour each morning may seem ordinary, yet years later, it builds strength and health others only dream of. Small daily victories are the seeds of extraordinary change. The challenge is that they often feel invisible in the moment. No applause, no recognition, no instant results. But that is the nature of compounding. It hides its power until suddenly the results are undeniable. One day you will wake up and realize that the life you are living, the strength you carry, and the success you embody all began with a single choice, repeated again and again at 4. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is not found in grand gestures, but in the discipline to claim small victories every day. Each one compounds silently, but together they create momentum that cannot be stopped. So when the alarm rings and you rise before the world, remember this: you are not just waking up early. You are casting votes for the future you want to live. And with every small victory, you move closer to becoming the person capable of living that extraordinary life. Mastering the early morning builds momentum that carries into every part of life. Mastering the early morning builds momentum that carries into every part of life. The way you begin your day is not just a routine, it is a statement of who you are and what you value. The first hours after waking set the tone for everything that follows. And when you learn to master them, you step into a rhythm of control, energy, and focus that influences every decision, every interaction, and every action you take. Most people start their mornings in chaos. They wake at the last possible minute, hit the snooze button multiple times, rush through their preparations, and step into the day already behind. This hurried start creates a chain reaction. Stress builds, focus scatters, and opportunities slip away. But when you master the early morning, you reverse that cycle. You start ahead instead of behind. You begin with calm instead of panic. That calmness and control become momentum that carries you through challenges with clarity and confidence. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. Just as a moving object becomes easier to keep in motion, a productive and intentional start to your day makes it easier to stay disciplined and focused as the hours unfold. Waking up early, exercising discipline, and completing meaningful tasks before distractions begin creates a sense of accomplishment. And accomplishment fuels confidence. When you know you've already conquered the hardest battle, the battle with yourself, you approach the rest of the day with a different kind of energy. You are no longer reacting to life. You are directing it. Mastering the early morning is not about filling every minute with busyness. It is about creating space for the practices that give you strength. It could be meditation that clears your mind, exercise that energizes your body, reading that feeds your growth, or planning that aligns your priorities. Each of these activities acts as a spark igniting momentum that multiplies throughout the day. The focus you build in those quiet hours allows you to make better decisions, respond to problems with creativity instead of frustration, and carry yourself with a presence that others notice. This momentum doesn't stop with productivity. It spills into your relationships, your health, and your overall sense of fulfillment. When you start your mornings with mastery, you show up more present for the people around you. You handle stress with patience because you've already grounded yourself. You make healthier choices because you've set the tone with discipline. You pursue your goals with clarity because you've already taken time to remind yourself why they matter. The early morning becomes the anchor that stabilizes everything else. There is also a deeper truth. Mastering the morning teaches you mastery over yourself. Every time you resist the temptation to stay in bed and choose to rise with intention, you are reinforcing the belief that you are in control of your life. This self-mastery is what builds true momentum. It is not the external results alone, but the internal identity shift. The realization that you are the kind of person who takes action, who values discipline, who leads yourself before trying to lead anything else. That belief radiates through every area of life. The beauty of momentum is that it compounds. One disciplined morning leads to another, and soon it becomes a lifestyle. What began as a single choice to wake early becomes a chain reaction of wins. Better health, sharper focus, deeper growth, and stronger discipline. And over time, these wins accumulate into extraordinary results. While others wonder how success arrived so suddenly, you will know the truth. It was built one morning at a time, long before anyone else noticed. Mastering the early morning is more than a habit. It is a philosophy of life. It teaches that if you can conquer the beginning, you can conquer the rest. It proves that success is not an accident, but the natural outcome of disciplined choices made consistent. The momentum you build in those first hours does not fade when the sun rises higher. It carries into every conversation, every challenge, and every opportunity. And when you own your mornings, you begin to own your life. Success is not found in the noise of the world, but in the choices you make when no one is watching. Rising at 4 a.m. is not about the number on the clock. It is about the discipline, the clarity, the separation, the small victories, and the momentum that shape the extraordinary life you are capable of living. Every early morning you claim is proof that you are stronger than your excuses, stronger than your comfort, and stronger than the pull of mediocrity. The truth is, nothing changes until you do. If you want to live differently, you must choose differently. The ordinary will always choose ease, but the extraordinary rise above it. And each time you wake before the sun, you remind yourself that greatness is not built overnight. It is built morning by morning, choice by choice, victory by victory. One day, all the sacrifices, the discipline, the hours no one else saw will come together, and others will call it success. But you will know it was born in the silence of the early hours when you decided to live with intention. So rise, take hold of your mornings, and build the life you know you are meant to live. The hour is waiting. The question is, will you rise to meet it?